go. Fuck yeah. Hey everybody, welcome into the Creed of Crypto live stream. We got Brizology in the house. We got Crypto Ewok. I am Broke Boi Crypto, as we are here every week, Wednesdays at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Welcome into the show. Hit the like to support Real DeFi and help support the channel as well. We are doing an open mic night, so that means we will throw the link in the chat. We would love to hear from you guys. A lot of stuff to get to, obviously. We got a holiday here in the U.S., of course, 4th of July tomorrow. We got Independence Day on the horizon, so America's birthday. But, hey, a lot to get into. We got drama going on here and there in PulseChain world. We got some more consolidation kind of at these prices, not only from PulseChain, but Ethereum and a lot of other stuff. So we're going to get into it all tonight. Usually we have like a super like structured show. We're going to try to just hang back. We got the perfect guy to chill out with us here with Brizology, the maximum chill here. So yeah, I think we're going to have a good show tonight, and hopefully more of you can join as well. But gentlemen, let whoever wants to talk first. How you doing this evening? How are you feeling about the markets overall? We'll go to Briz first as the guest of honor so far.
Happy early 4th of July, everybody. I'm gonna go out and have a party tomorrow. But as for the markets, everything feels fine to me. I know we kind of got that little bit of a dump today. I think maybe we're seeing reverberations from that Pulse Latina farm being rugged. Maybe other people are getting kind of sketched out. That the Pulse Latina has a bunch of. We don't know, and it's not even her. Probably she's probably used just like everyone that connected to that farm. But it looks like we got a little bit of a down day. I mean, that's the only thing that I can think of that's would really cause the markets to kind of go down. I mean, actually, I haven't really even looked at Ethereum or Bitcoin lately, but it looks like they're kind of down too a little bit. So maybe it's just a little bit of echoes of that. But other than that, I'm actually pretty bullish. I'm not really worried about much right now. Yeah, I think we're just gonna see a lot more action this coming winter, especially November, I believe.
Yeah, I agree. I'm seeing a lot of complacency, a lot of boredom. People are they're not good at waiting. And I think that's one of the big issues with people is they can't sit on their hands and do nothing. I mean, they feel like they've got to be jumping into something new, got to be playing the game, got to be trading in and out of meme tokens. And because there's nothing else going on with the prices of the main tokens, they just feel that they have to act. And unfortunately, I'm seeing a lot of that. It's boredom, but I agree with you, Briz. I'm feeling bullish as well. Late winter, we're going to see some price action probably a little before that. And especially depending on what happens, within the next couple of days, if we get a favorable reply, not really expecting that. I don't think they're going to really do anything on the 8th of July, but if there is something from that, we could see a nice little takeoff for, an early summer or, summer run and into the winter. But yeah, winter is the time it's really going to probably pick up, I think.
I think so too. Yeah, I think November, as Briz originally said, is a good spot to look out for. And as far as like maybe just a turnaround, I mean, we could see this month overall, not just for PulseChain, but I think crypto, still be down a bit. Take some time to get out of this area and stuff. If anybody does want to join in on the stream, I just went ahead and put the StreamYard link in there and pinned it at the top of the chat. So if you want to head on in, we'd love to have you. So come on in and we'll chat it up here. Let's talk about, so you guys just went this direction. So we're going to kind of free ball it tonight here. Maybe in more ways than one. I don't know. What's the best scenario regarding the July 8th RH case? So sorry about that, Ewok. So from More Hex. So we are, and refresh me. I full disclosure, I just came back from a mini vacation, so I'm kind of in the loop on things. I know that that's a key date, obviously, but we're basically getting the SEC's answer to the motion to dismiss on that day, correct?
Yep, that's what we're looking for. It's just a response. That's the day their response is due to the letter that the RH attorneys filed. stating basically that they've got no jurisdiction. That was the main point of the first letter. Obviously, there were a couple other points, but this is their time to reply to that. Interestingly enough, though, the Chevron thing that just happened recently could play a big part of this. Basically what that says is a lot of these appointed people, don't really have a jurisdiction in the first place to be making rules. Curious to see how the judges interpreted that. I don't think it wasn't included in his first letter, obviously because it hadn't happened yet. Now that it has, it could definitely set some precedent moving forward and say, look, there's so much overreach going here already. Let's let's give you a prime example right in front of our faces, what we're looking at right now. So it could be interesting.
I think so too. What are you expecting, Briz, from this SEC thing? I mean, like, obviously we've seen a lot of nuclear herbs tweets on this and stuff, and I think everybody expects some kind of weak ass argument, obviously, from them. But the big thing is obviously responding to the whole jurisdiction thing. I mean, that is the key thing. That's what our agents attorneys are really going after, and we think they have a very good case as far as that goes. So yeah, what are you expecting? I mean, obviously we're not attorneys, but what do you think we're going to see from the SEC here?
I don't know. I feel like they're probably not going to back down. In fact, I don't want them to back down. I want them to go at Richard as hard as they can, because I think Richard is probably going to win it more likely than lose it. I mean, we've seen his lawyer team, he has lawyers from the SEC, so he has a top tier team. So I don't want to see them even dismiss it. I want them to go after it, and I want Richard to win it and solidify the case. And that's what I would like. But
You think it'd be more effective than a dismissal is what you're saying?
Yeah, just to be like, all right, never mind, we don't want to deal with this. Like, that doesn't really give regulatory clarity. So I just want to see him attack it. And I want to say to Jake in the chat box, my name is Brizology.
That's producer Jake.
Yeah, that's producer Jake. He may or may not be related to me and be 5 years old.
Nice.
But yeah,
I'm just lazy when I type out my name.
Yeah,
it's really all it is.
Yeah, Brizology. We like both. So that's interesting, Briz. So you actually, and I do get what you're saying, because like if the case were to just go away, it's like, oh, okay, well, they didn't have jurisdiction, whatever. That still leaves the big question. Not that we consider it a question, but that leaves it up in the air as to like, well, what is a judge actually going to side here? We got like a definitive ruling in the Ripple, the XRP case, and everything. We would like to see that here as well. So, but you wanting that would be okay for this to go, potentially into, October is really where we're going to see what the, whether or not the motion to dismiss is granted. I mean, that's not really that much more time, but you're willing to wait at least until then. Well, no, you don't want it to get. So you want this whole thing to go. So you're saying that you want this to go to trial. You don't want it to get.
Hell
dismissed.
yeah.
Okay.
I want this going to 2026, baby.
Wow. Okay. All right.
It's my opinion. I don't think any of this stuff actually matters, because it's not like they're going to shut down Hex. They're not going to shut down the PulseChain. They're not going to prevent anyone from doing any transactions. And I'm sure you guys have seen my opinion, but I see the path forward for the next $1 billion to flow into the PulseChain. And that's simply from the OA or the SAC address doing a vampire attack using the sacrifice funds and Ethereum. I don't expect it to, or I'm not expecting
Right.
anything to happen, but I easily can see how if Ethereum goes up to like $10,000, that 170,000 ETH turns into 1.7 billion, and I can easily see how that could flow back into PulseChain. And and it's just of my opinion, I don't think any of this legal stuff truly matters, other than, if Richard were to lose and they would just label it an illegal U.S. security, then what? He pays a fine. Okay.
Mm-hmm. I am totally with you on that. Yeah, I mean, I think the worst case scenario is still one in which like all these products are totally fine. You know, we don't have any issue. It would just be some kind of fine from RH or something like that. I will say though, like Chris Crypto AI Corner said in the chat, like, why wouldn't you want a dismissal? I do agree with that. I would rather just have not that we necessarily need the clarity. I just would rather this be over with. You know, I just don't want to be dealing with it. Not that we personally are dealing with it, but I would just rather it not be there. I don't think many people take the SEC seriously at all. That's why, and I'm curious both of you guys' opinion on this. Ewok, we've had this conversation before, but people have said like, okay, like let's say the case gets dismissed or whatever. What happens to the price, or how will it affect the price immediately? And I do think right away, if it were dismissed or the case was over and it was a positive result, I do think that we would see like kind of a behavior what we saw with Ripple, like with XRP, like it 2x'd pretty much in a day off of the news, and then like slowly over time kind of retraced it. But I don't think like there are people that are, oh, we're going to do like an instant 5x, we're going to do a 10x or whatever. I think that is preposterous, and I'm not saying that because I don't think PulseChain can ultimately do that. I'm saying it because you're giving the SEC way too much cred here. Like them losing a case, like if you're going to say that, then what's the inverse? Like what's the inverse of an RH loss in the case, whatever that would be? What you think? The price just absolutely plummets to no end. I don't think the SEC thing really matters, and I just want it out of here for clarity's sake. But I think price wise reaction to like a dismissal or anything, yeah, we're going to see some short term volatility, but like I don't really look at them, affecting the price very much, which I think is a positive. But what do you guys think about that?
I kind of do. It's created its own chilling effect, I think. I think there are investors on the sidelines waiting to have this done. I think it would. Ripple's a little different. Ripple has been around for a lot longer, whereas PulseChain's pretty new. It's only been around, it was around 4 or 5 months before the case was brought, maybe 6 months. And then immediately there was a case. I think there were people waiting at that point to get in. But yeah, I think it's different. I think it's a totally different situation with Ripple, because Ripple dumps a lot of tokens on their people anyway, to pay for a lot of things. I'm sure the lawyers are one of them. I don't know. I can see a different result. I don't think 5x immediately, but I do see a more steady increase. Possibly people willing to list it on their exchanges. I know you guys talked about this last night, Briz, on Maddie's stream, about that was one of the questions. Do we need these centralized exchanges, or do we suffer through the DeFi and make people learn it, the way it should be? Hex didn't need it to get to 50 cents, but if you want an easy on ramp for people, you almost have to bite the bullet and get some of these centralized parties involved, unfortunately.
Maybe Richard will be the guy that makes the centralized exchange.
That's
I
possible.
remember a long time ago, Richard was talking about trying to get a banking license in Europe.
Yep.
I don't know whatever happened to it. I mean, I assume it wasn't approved or something. I mean, could you imagine, like, I'm trying to get a banking license, and they're like, all right, let's look at your rap sheet. Oh, you're currently being sued by the SEC.
Right.
I
Right.
don't think so, buddy.
Well, I think that was way before any of the SEC. In fact, I don't think PulseChain even existed at that point when he was talking about it. I mean, that was pretty early into Hex when I remember him discussing the banking license and trying to get, which means he had the opportunity. I think he also mentioned to buy an exchange.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember he was asking if anyone was selling one.
Yeah.
So, you know, so
Interesting.
I just I don't know. I just think that I don't know what I was even trying to say. I lost my train of thought.
Upon this question here, so more Hex again with a good one. So is there a strong chance of Pulse or Inc. being listed on Kraken? So Kraken has kind of been like the exchange of choice for a lot of people. It wasn't too long ago, a few weeks ago, Ewok and I covered how Kraken and Binance both put out there like, hey, if there's a token that you want to see listed, because they know the bull market's coming and they want to make money from people that want to buy their tokens. So, what would you want to see listed? And they both put out basically the sheet that you can fill out to promote whatever token it is to get it on. Kraken and Binance both did that. Now, Binance has a lot more restrictions and things like that, obviously, with everything they've dealt with over the last couple of years and CZ, being in the clink right now and stuff. They're kind of trying to, they're going to temper things a little bit more. Kraken really kind of appeals to like the real crypto enthusiasts, like Jesse Powell is kind of a, early Bitcoiner and stuff like that. And the form to fill out that token request really is pretty easy. We did it. We talked about it here on air whenever that stuff came out. But yeah, what do you guys think the chances are here? I don't know about Inc. I mean, I don't know what the, no pun intended, but what the incentive would be to list it. But for Pulse anyway, obviously to get people onboarded into the ecosystem, I mean, I don't know about a strong chance, but I definitely could see it happening. And I think Kraken is exactly the right exchange to be targeting with that stuff because I think they're the most open-minded. And again, I think they jive with what we're doing here with DeFi the most. So,
yeah,
Briz,
the reason,
I'm
sorry. The reason Inc. is being talked about is because it's not listed in the SEC case.
Right.
So if anything, these guys are probably looking at it and saying, well, there's a pending judgment. We may want to hold off on listing that one. However, Inc. is not listed in that. There's no suit against it or anything like that. So also there's no OA, right? So, I mean, there's a lot of reasons why it's good. There's also, it's not really, it's a reward token. So, it'd be like saying, all right, let's take the cake token and list it first. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense if you don't have any other of those tokens listed on your exchange. It just seems weird starting with the reward token because it has that synonymous dump forever kind of feeling, as most reward tokens do. Although if they're listing it, they're providing liquidity, they're going to make the fees. So I don't know. That's why Inc. is being talked about though, because of the non-SEC discussion.
Yeah, I kind of find it hard imagining people, signing up on Kraken just to buy Inc. Or just trying to get into PulseChain through Kraken through Inc. Like, I don't know. I feel like if they really wanted onto the PulseChain, that they would just find a way. But I don't know. I'm just not a big fan of these centralized exchanges. They're going to be making a bunch of money through trading fees if they make any money through trading or through the buying and selling of PulseChain assets on their platform. But since they're making the money off of us, I always say I think they should be the ones buying their coins instead of the community providing it to them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I just don't see a strong, really reason to really have a centralized exchange at this point. I don't know. I just feel like people are gonna find it. The people who really want it are gonna find it.
I think that's a good point. Honestly, it's one of the most contentious of all the arguments. I think, I think there are more people on both sides of the aisle on this thing about whether Paul should be listed on an exchange or not, than anything else. I think that it's, and I see merit to both sides. Like, I get what you're saying, Briz. Like, you want to keep the DeFi principles, like that's what makes it special. You can't just easily get on from an exchange or something like that. And Richard has gone. This is a weird thing too. I mean, he's gone on record like very staunchly about why exchanges suck so bad, but also then was promoting like, hey, Kraken and Binance are asking you to list coins and stuff like that. Maybe there was something else within those tweets. I'm not sure that he meant by it, but I do think it would be beneficial at least to get Pulse listed on an exchange like that, just to try to get people in the door. I get where you're coming from. And honestly, it's not like even it's not a hill I'm willing to die on or anything. I see the merits to both sides. I do think it would be a net positive for the growth in this cycle. But I get where you're coming from. I mean, it's like one of those, you're compromising your beliefs a little bit. And I get it. I mean, again, look, it's not something I'm willing to. I hate to hem-haw and sound like who gives a shit. What are you trying to say? But I mean, I totally understand both sides. I guess I feel like in the end, the results may be close, but I think it would be better to at least just have Pulse listed. And we're only talking one exchange. We're not talking about have it be something that people are just holding on Coinbase and all these different things. Just like a good OG exchange like Kraken, I think would be pretty cool. But
I would like it if Pulse was listed on every exchange. Like I want it to be listed everywhere, but I just don't want the community to have to cough up 150K
right
every single time.
Yeah, I agree with that totally. And maybe if things go well and it takes off in this market, maybe people will start listing it. Not every token or coin that's on these exchanges was paid for, or sometimes they just list them because they're popular. I don't think that the community or the foundation or whatever it is has necessarily donated them in the past. Sometimes they just list them.
Like for example, Polkadot hasn't paid anybody, but they're listed everywhere, right?
Yeah, right.
They
haven't paid anybody.
Not a single soul.
Sami has been going in so hard on them, and I find that one to be glorious because they're just like, Gavin Wood has just kind of been, it's been like a redundant kind of product all along. We find out all the insider deals they're doing and stuff like that. I mean, it's one of those things, like this is the stuff that people have to wake up to and hopefully do this cycle. And I'll ask you guys that, like, we see this kind of grifting stuff with other tokens. We know all the bloated, like VC-backed seed round investors, the stuff that isn't really crypto, and then they're dumping on your head without you knowing it, like the whole way up the ladder in the bull market and then even harder in the bear market. We talk about this a lot on here, but like with PulseChain, yeah, you will have like whales dumping, like there are hex whales from previous cycles, and we have seen them, hold prices down here and there. But at least we're actually able to like track it on chain. And in some cases, people literally even know who the folks are. Like they're literally doxed and stuff like that. You don't get that with these bigger tokens, with these VC rounds and all this different stuff. So do you think there will be kind of a reckoning this cycle where people will realize like, okay, the bloat of something like a Polkadot, Solana, which, has had its kind of season already until the point that we saw racist meme coins get created. Do you think we are going to see the shift to real DeFi like PulseChain and getting back to basics with crypto rather than, going after some of these big VC-backed chains? Now we got like Arbitrum and Optimism and stuff like that. When do you think people will start getting into PulseChain? And I will say this, we just talked about the exchange thing. We know a certain somebody on Twitter that like was kind of raging against like the IPFS links and stuff like that a while back. Will that be a barrier for people, and will it make them avoid coming into this kind of DeFi space? Either one of you can go with whatever you want to there.
I just want to say the Bitfinesse comment about exchanging dollars for ETH at 35 cents. I remember, I think it was 2014. I was looking at my phone. I remember this exactly. I was standing in my living room. I was looking at my phone, and ETH was at 90 cents. And I said to myself, I should buy 1,000 of these, you know? And I never did. Because I couldn't figure out what the heck a smart contract was for.
Right.
I was like, a smart contract? What the heck am I going to use a smart contract for? You know, am I going to have a smart contract with my lawn guy, and he's gonna mow my lawn via the smart contract? And like, what if he doesn't mow my lawn? Then like, don't I have to like step in and like, I'm like, it has to reach back into the real world, right? And I just had no idea about smart contracts back then, and no one knew anything about smart contracts back then. I used to troll the ETH guys because they're like, ETH is going to be so big. Excuse me. I'm like, really? What's your favorite smart contract, buddy? And they'd be like, shut up.
Right. Well, that's the first principle of investing is like, do you understand what you're investing in? You know, and it's one of those things where like, here's the thing, like you can write those stories and be like, oh man, ETH at 90 cents or whatever. But like, how long would you have held it? Like, what kind of volatility would you have been able to withstand at the time? You know what I mean? Like you're thinking of a perfect scenario where like you bought ETH at 90 cents and held it until whatever, 4,800 or something like that, or even anything, whatever. But you have to
would you have sold it like $100 or whatever?
Nah, I would have kept it until right now.
Oh yeah, right now.
Well, let's just say this: I had my Bitcoin, and I only got rid of my Bitcoin for the PulseChain sacrifice. So I held it from 2013 till 2021. So I even held it through a lot of the hex stuff going up.
Yeah.
But
you claimed your hex with it, hopefully.
What was that?
You claimed your hex with it.
I did.
Yeah.
And
10, to answer this, there you go. To answer this guy's question, I think ETH launched in 2016.
Yeah, it was before 17, I believe.
Yeah, it was. I know it was already there in 17.
Was it not in 14 that it launched?
Was it 14?
I don't know what year it launched, but I mean, it was definitely around in 17. I know.
I thought it was late 15 or early 16. Either way,
actually, I think it was 15. Yeah.
It's probably 15 then. Because
July 30th. Oh, we're almost at the anniversary. Actually, July 30th, 2015. There we go. Almost 9 years ago. Crazy that it's only 9 years.
Yeah. Well, I mean, time flies. Look, we're almost almost 5 years into the hex contract already.
Right.
You know, in December, it'll be 5 years that you're a third of the way through your 5555. Pretty crazy.
Crazy indeed. I want to answer this question here, and I was trying to pull up the DOT chart, but wasn't having success. He says, speaking of DOT, should I rotate my DOT into Pulse? I mean, obviously that's a no-brainer from all of us. The only thing that I would be wondering is, I don't know what DOT's current price is, but it's got to be down unbelievably bad right now. I know that I think it just made new lows against Ethereum, actually. And I don't know if it was off of like some of this news the last couple of days or just the fact that it's been bleeding so hard, you know. Are you trying to pull it up? Let me see.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, let's take a look at this. I know it's not good. Yeah, let's see here.
$6.02.
Are you serious? I can't believe it's that high. I thought it was lower than that for sure by now.
Well, the high was $54.
$50.
Yeah, $54.70.
Yeah.
When was that little rage pump near the end? Yeah, right about there.
Here?
Yeah,
March.
Is that March?
Yeah.
Of this year?
March 13th. Yeah.
I wonder what happened to cause that to go way up from the bottom.
Well, that's what the whole market was pumping at that time. That was when Bitcoin was hitting. I mean, imagine this, PulseChain even pumped actually at that time. So, I mean, back in March, we were all cooking pretty good. So I think it was off of that pump. But yeah, I mean, I I think just the fact that we've seen DOT at least recover off the bottom to the level that it's at now, I personally would be totally willing to rotate it into Pulse, because Pulse is double bottoming right now. I mean, like, no, it's not at the exact price of the previous bottom back almost a year ago, but yeah, I mean, to me, I've been eating up these prices. I mean, anytime I can get money into the market, every single cent is going into crypto, basically. So, yeah, I personally, not financial advice, of course, but I would definitely do that. Yeah.
Check my pulse in the comments. He's asking what year was Hex at current price, and the last time Hex was this low was probably 2020.
Yeah, I can.
So what,
pull
half
that
a
up in
penny, you
minute.
mean? Oh, I see it. I see it now. Let me get him up here. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, I believe the last time Hex was this low was probably like early to mid 2020. And you know, if you look at the whole Hex chart, the first year and a half, it just looks like a straight flat line. And then at exactly at 1.5 years, Hex just starts pumping crazy. And I think it's possible that we get a very similar timeline to PulseChain. And if that pans out, 1.5 years will be this November. So I think, yeah, look at it. It's just kind of like, and so I think if everything just starts lining up,
Yep.
you know, like Trump is, you know, the president, is the crypto president at the moment.
Yep.
And I believe if he gets elected, that will inspire confidence in the markets, and the markets will start pumping pretty high. And again, that kind of lines up with the 1.5 year of PulseChain from launch till 1.5 years is November.
Exactly.
And you know, I think the market maker of PulseChain will probably use that time period to pump the PulseChain and make it look more organic.
Yeah. It's funny. It only stayed at this price for one day.
That's
And
insane.
that was April 19th, because here's the 17th, 18th, 19th was the day it was at the price it is today. Now, this is EHEX, obviously. It's the
Right.
only history we have back then. But then it continued. Then, you know, there's the 20th, 21st, 22nd, and we were already double where we were today. And then 6 times that much by May 13th. So yeah, this was the one of the first parabolic run-ups that happened. I believe this was a Godwell, part of the Godwell candle that happened here with some of these buys, and it just flew right by that level.
Look at that little red candle right there in the center of that gigantic green wick up. It's like someone tried to get cute. They're like, I'm going to sell some.
Right here.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
all.
And it kept going.
Yeah.
Left them behind. And that's the, you know, it happened quite a few times where some of these red candles would sell and then it just kept going. Like here's another one, for example. It was a pretty good size wick down and it just took off, left people behind.
Yeah, like I said, I believe we got a pretty powerful market maker in our system, and nothing's gonna stop what's coming, guys. Nothing is going to stop this.
I agree, and I think that some people are just getting impatient just because, you know, it's been so long. A lot of people that sacrificed, obviously, for Pulse, it's been what, like 3 years at this point, like summer of 2021. Now, that's not everybody at this point. Like, really, at this point, even if you did sacrifice a small amount for that, or really any amount, which, you know, if you did over leverage yourself in that sacrifice, I really think it's just you that you have to be accountable to in the mirror. I mean, it's you that did that. You didn't have to sacrifice, as much as some of these people did. And I think that's why some people are hurting. But again, have you been DCAing this whole way? Like, we literally have a chance right now to buy the lows again. As you said, Briz, we're having a dip in the market today. Pulse is at 4 zeros and a 4-4 basically right now. We've been in this range now for a while. I mean, we've been right at this point where you can pretty much buy the lows again for weeks now. I mean, we've been here, and it's just a matter of like, did you take the opportunity to do it, or are you still sitting on your hands? And we know that, a lot of people have complained that, like, I have no more dry powder. I can't really get into the market. And again, we've talked about all the things that you can do. LPing on your Pulse and Pulse X if you feel safe enough to do that, which, I don't think there's really too many reasons not to earn the incentive token. There's many other positions that you can take. Obviously, staking Hex if you want to do it even in a short-term period, because the fees aren't high on PulseChain. So there's many things that you can do right now to try to alleviate that and get yourself into the market.
Could sell a kidney.
Yeah, do whatever you need to do.
I mean, there's a lot of options, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of things out there. Do you want to pull up the PulseChain chart, Ewok, and we could just kind of take a look at it real quick?
I can.
Unless you guys want to take a different direction.
Yeah,
I'm just kind of flying by the seat of my pants tonight. So
everything's lining up to confirm these 4-year cycles still.
Mm-hmm.
So until that doesn't happen, I'm kind of I'm relying on that more or less.
I completely agree, and I think that's something that some people are losing. Are just kind of losing faith in or not realizing. It's like we are lining up. And that's been the awesome thing. We saw BTC be the thing to buy in the first half, or the first quarter anyway, of this year. And it was looking like, oh, everybody's screaming left translated cycle. Things are going to happen a lot earlier than they have before. You got to get in now and all these things. That's all slowed down. I mean, we have BTC today. You were right, Briz. It's down to 60K again. So we've been talking about it getting back into the 50Ks. We have ETH at 3,300. So, I mean, we do have things kind of mellowing out, slowing down so we can catch up to where we're normally at. And I think we're right on pace to where we usually are. Looking at how it's affecting PulseChain and us coming back down here to the bottom, what do you guys kind of see in this chart? And I know you mentioned November as like a time to really go up again, Briz. What about like just getting in a positive trend again? Because right now we've still kind of been in this like hanging out. You can see a couple weekly candles right around where we are right now in Pulse. How long do you think we kind of hang out in this region to DCA at the lows again here? And when will we start to see like, okay, three green weekly candles in a row, like things are starting to go back up, as we get into the fall? And as you answer that question, I'm going to go take a leak real quick because I got to pee really bad. So you go ahead and I'll be right back.
Yeah. I think we got a couple more months of sideways to downward action. And then probably around Q3, probably around October, we'll probably start seeing the markets start going up, I believe. I always believe it to be because of holiday shopping. You got like you got Halloween in October, you got Thanksgiving in November, you got Christmas and Hanukkah and everything, all these other holidays going on in December. So, and Black Friday, it's all about getting people into the stores so the stores get out of the red and into the black. And so it's all about Q4 is all about pumping up the markets. Excuse me 1 second.
Well, that, and there's an election happening too. We can't forget. So I think that's going to be huge, right? I mean, I'm seeing what you're seeing. I totally see, this is almost it's starting as a round off formation. I mean, obviously it could go down, but this has the making of doing exactly what you said. I'm looking at, more September-ish. You said October, but it's in the same vicinity, right? Not too much different, but this definitely is forming almost that rounded bottom. So yeah, we're both kind of anticipating, July, August, September into this here before we start to see a little action. Then hopefully we get back above this original trend line that was set that we broke through.
And then I believe in 2025, if we have a lot of positive regulation on crypto, we could just see the whole year as just a ramping up the whole year, and before we know it, this time next year we're gonna be like, oh my God, how did everything get so freaking high? And then we're just gonna go like a boom, just gonna blow off the top, and you're like, what the heck, dude?
Yep.
Where did all this come from?
Everyone's gonna be saying, man, I wish because I heard it before, man, I wish I bought when it was 4 zeros in a 4 or 4 zeros in a 5. I wish I would have bought when it was half of what the SAC price was, because we heard it with Hex when it blasted through there. I could only wish that it would be back to those prices. And then when it got there, nobody wants to buy now. It's just funny how that all works, but yeah, we're going to see the same exact thing. It always repeats itself. It's pretty funny how that works out.
Or when it gets up there, everyone wants to start buying it.
Well, that too. Yeah, and they buy the tops, and then they bitch about buying the top instead of doing it the right way.
I think it's also just like, I mean, it's obviously psychologically really difficult to buy bad prices. Like people don't enjoy. I mean, I think if you're sadistic or just having been around markets enough, eventually you're going to get to the point where it's like, oh, dude, this is on a discount. Or, you see a chart lining up a certain way, like looking at this PulseChain chart right now, and it looks like a screaming buy down here. Most people aren't going to look at it like that. Most people are going to look at it like, why the hell am I going to go over there? I'm not. I was just away actually on kind of a mini vacation. I was talking to a guy who's kind of ancillarily involved in crypto in a certain way. And I wasn't even, laying it on thick or anything, but I was just, he's familiar with like ETH and Solana and just like some basic things and stuff like that. And I was trying to talk to him about PulseChain and just loosely let him know what's going on. And sometimes, hey, maybe I'm just not good at pitching what it is, or he's just not interested enough in crypto at this moment. But sometimes it's just like, man, people aren't going to see what it is until there's just more and more people talking about it. And you kind of look like that insane guy, which, hey, I used to think of Ewok. I mean, like there was a time where he was that insane guy. Well, I mean, not literally insane, but
I know what you mean. I was the one telling you about it way back then.
Yeah, you were that insane guy. Briz was pretty insane when he was looking at ETH at 90 cents and even thinking about it at that time. You know what I mean? So, it's if you get a chance to be there, it's a magical thing. And like, some of them won't work out. And that's why maybe you don't just put everything into all one thing, but it doesn't feel, but my point is overall is it doesn't feel good to buy red candles. It doesn't feel good to buy depressed prices. You know what I mean? As you're doing it, but then later on it exponentially does,
Sure. The mental gymnastics that it takes, I'm sorry, Briz, but the mental gymnastics that it takes to buy when things are down is extremely hard. And it's one of the sayings that made Warren Buffett who he is. He's like, he always buys when there's blood in the streets, and that's the opportunity to make money. So go ahead,
I'd also like to point out that Ethereum looked like a vampire attack scam. At the time. They're like, Bitcoin had just had its big blow off top, and everyone's like, oh my God. And then all of a sudden these Ethereum guys are like, we're gonna do this thing called smart contracts. Buy our coin. Don't buy Bitcoin, buy our coin. You're right, you son of a bitch.
Right. Well, people that were buying Bitcoin early on obviously look like psychos. Like we talk about that documentary, The Rise and Rise of Bitcoin, that's on YouTube about a guy in I think Pittsburgh, actually, PA, which is really interesting. So those people look like psychos. I mean, imagine how you have to look for then Ethereum, like say, no. Like Bitcoin was one thing, but like this is a whole other kind of platform. And we now know with ETH, 9 years in, that it was a bit of a unicorn, obviously. Like it's absolutely insane. But there's still opportunity like that out there, and there's still going to be for a couple of cycles down the road, for people to get in here and figure this stuff out. So,
and it's funny, the other ones that were created pretty much at that time were Litecoin was pretty much next.
Red coin, feather coin.
Well, yeah, there were some of those. Dash was in there. Dash is pretty old as well. But you know, Litecoin and Doge were both forks of Bitcoin, and you know they've stuck around for a while. Obviously, they haven't done great price performance, but you know, Doge did make new all-time highs last cycle.
I'm surprised Litecoin hasn't done better.
Me too. Actually,
I really thought people would get into that one heavily.
Yep, I agree.
Let me see here. I want to see what direction I want to go. I don't have the normal show prep that we usually do, but let's talk about this if you guys want to for a minute. We'll talk about the Pulse Latina thing. So, I think it's a word of the wise. So I'm not even saying this just in like the PulseChain community or anything like that, but like when you start to see in a typically male-dominated field, okay, and I'm not saying it like, you know, obviously there are females who do amazing things in crypto. I don't mean anything like that, but when primarily like you're seeing guys, you know, that are creating in the space, making content in the space, like it's a male dominated space. And all of a sudden you see like a female that's also attractive coming into it, that suddenly has a product and things like that. I don't know how people are not more skeptical of this stuff early on. I just don't. Obviously, you know, KDP's been around a long time. She's a very smart woman. She knows a lot about the ecosystem and stuff like that, does a lot for it, and she's kind of withstood the test of time. So I'm not making any sweeping generalizations about the chicks out there. So don't think that. But the eagerness of people within communities, and again, I'm not signaling out PulseChain, but like a semi-attractive girl comes along and is just saying like the cheerleader comments and stuff like that. And then of course, like I didn't even know this Latina token got launched. I didn't even find out about this until it apparently rugged the other day. And then, you know, people think that it might be Gunther and all these things I don't know. I don't even know what direction to go with this, but why do you think people just have men have a tendency to just flock to one of these new like female influencers when they're really not even adding any kind of substance? I mean, like I never saw her really tweeting anything that was anything outside of like PulseChain is real DeFi. And again, you know, even a guy like Sami does that. I'm not saying that other people don't, but I mean, just kind of cheerleading stuff. How are people so easily duped? I mean, Ewok and I were talking about it in private, and I think we both pretty much early on saw like something very odd is going on here. But what's your take on that, Briz? Just the dynamics of people like kind of flocking to that and buying it. I just don't know how you get there, but yeah.
Yeah.
Too.
You know, I'm always receptive of new people that want to come in and market my bags more or less. So I was actually you know, I was happy to see the Pulse Latina character around because, you know, they're just talking positively about PulseChain and Hex and Richard Hart, and I was like, you know what, that's my kind of people right there. I go on X and I follow everybody who has either a PulseChain or Hex in their name, or if it's inside their like little bio. Like I'll follow anybody that's positive about PulseChain and Hex. But from really what I've kind of learned in this space is that unless you have like tens of millions of dollars to back a project, most of these projects are just gonna fail. You know, especially if you have like a brokey founder. I mean, because it's just like, how are they going to absorb all of the sell pressure if, you know, the thing starts going up real high? And a lot of people just, they can't fill that void. And, you know, I think there's only one reason why Hex probably is successful, and that's because it has a market maker that's like a god whale, and it really helps lift up the prices of everything. And you know, there's very, very few things that are actually going to make it. And I don't know. So I missed the whole Pulse Latina Farms. Like I was just like, I wouldn't have gotten into it anyways. But yeah, just be careful of who the found. Like, do your own research
Hmm.
on the founders, and in my opinion, if they're a bunch of brokies, it's probably not the greatest thing to get into.
Right, here's your answer. And two words kind of describe the reason why females have this effect, and it's only fans, right? It's the same effect. I mean, when a good looking girl comes into a community, there's a lot of simping that happens. Um, Bitfinesse says we've been designed by nature and evolutionary psychology to value food and sex, food and sex. Unless you're male, then it's sex and food, sex and food. Pretty girls, it doesn't have to make sense. And he's absolutely right. So, I mean, that's why a lot of people got taken
Right.
because they saw her. They saw some coding happening. Apparently, she was supposed to be this computer programmer, coder, whatever, that designed her own thing. And yeah, it's just, it's bad. Now, the reason why, and I'll tell the reason why, if people don't know, the reason why people think it was Gunther. There was a Telegram comment that was made that said something like, Pulse Latina was never real. I created that, whatever. And then it said something about
Living in the shadows,
living in,
I will forever live in the shadows.
forever live in the shadows. And it was the same comment that Gunther
Verbatim.
made verbatim before. So, that's why the speculation. And now there's people out there that are doxing his license. His driver's license is now online, and it's going to get ugly. So just be careful, guys. Don't get involved with any of that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, the doxing thing. Yeah, I as horrible and as many things as Gunther has done, I'm not a fan of that. I mean, I wasn't a fan of it with the kid. Oh, actually, Briz, kudos to you because you were the one I really saw put your neck out and say this. But on you guys is with Stream with Maddie a couple of weeks ago when the whole thing about the hot dog boy came out in South Carolina, you went out of your way to say, like, don't dox this kid, don't go out, saying who he is or where you can find him. And I totally agree with that. That's not a good look at all.
Yeah.
And really anti everything that we're about. You know what I mean? So
yeah, we're not out here trying to get like revenge or something. I mean, at least I'm not. So.
Well, some people might be, and unfortunately, when you lose money, it hurts. But that's how you got it. I'm sorry to say it, but that's how you learn lessons. That's how you learn to stay away from some of these newer things until they're proven, or like Briz said, they have a founder that's, got some money behind it, some foresight of good programming, good ideas, very smart. There's a lot of things that you've got to look for. Instead of investing into these random things, hoping it's going to be your lottery ticket. And, it's just not a good way. It's the way to lose money. And again, it's got to happen to some people before they'll learn their lesson and do it the right way.
Yeah, I think so too. I want to go this direction, and usually we wouldn't cover this in such detail, but hey, we're just hanging out tonight. I think it'd be fun to do. If you guys are enjoying the stream anyway so far, hit us a like. We do this every Wednesday night at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I really would like to talk about the upcoming election in the U.S., since we are on the verge of this country's independence, but also the debate that we saw last week between President Joe Biden and former President Donald J. Trump. I'm just kind of curious to get you guys' thoughts on this, just because, this is one of those things that like everybody is talking about. And, we're obviously not a political show. We just kind of, our interests are, with freedom and whoever is going to provide that or help provide it the most, and love of cryptocurrency and freedom and liberty and all those values. But first off, how I know Ewok, you pretty much saw the whole debate last week. I saw the whole thing as well. Briz, I'm interested if you did, and kind of just what your opinions are on the debate itself, And then after that, we can kind of go off in a lot of different directions. But we'll start off with Briz. What did you see of it? Did you care about the debate at all? Is this all a foregone conclusion to you, or did you watch it? And what were your thoughts on it?
Excuse me. Yeah, I watched it. I watched the whole thing, and it's sad. You know, it really looks like Joe is losing his faculties. You know, it's more sad. Like as much as I'm very pro Trump. I love Trump. I love Trump. Probably just a little bit more than Richard Hart. In fact, one of the things that made me like Richard Hart was when Hex launched at the end of 2019. You know, everyone was just giving Trump such a hard time about absolutely everything, and I could just see people making up straight up lies about him. And then here comes Richard, and then like I just see all these crypto YouTubers doing the same exact thing to Richard. You know, Richard reminded me a lot of Trump, and that's probably how I got really hooked into it. But with that said, I did see the election. At this point, you know, I don't see how Biden could win unless they rig the election again and they just give it to him. And it's like to me, it feels like he's probably not pulling any. He's not the one pushing any of the buttons. People are just putting the paper in front of him and saying, "Here, Joe, sign this." And he's just like, "Oh, is this lunch?" You know, like,
Yeah.
Your takeout order.
And so I believe that if Trump gets elected in November, and I believe he will at this point, that it's going to be really good for crypto. You know, he's coming out as the pro crypto candidate. You know, I heard last month he was at a fundraiser in San Francisco. It had Chamath Palahniuk. I forget how to pronounce his name, but that guy, you know, if you don't know about Chamath put in he bought 1 million Bitcoin at $80 each. So he put in $80 million into Bitcoin in like 2012. And that right there to me is crazy. Same thing with the Gemini twins. They put in a lot really early on. And that to me kind of like helps solidify that this is kind of a government program that's always meant to be. It's just they're playing the long game, and they're like, they go, "All right, we need to make it look like it wasn't our idea. So let's get the SEC to attack it a little bit, and then it will fall apart, and it will be like, oh, look, you know, we tried to take it down, but it was too strong, and now we have it." My 69th 69th favorite. Son of
That's pretty low down the list, man. That's pretty low down
Welcome
the list.
to the stream. Checks my pulse.
Hey, how
Yeah,
you guys doing, man? Can you hear me?
Yep,
we got you, man. Yeah. What do you have tonight? Did you have any thoughts on the debate, or what direction do you want to take this?
No, I just wanted to pop in and just say, hey, man, I appreciate you guys, man.
Well, we
guys,
appreciate you.
You know, I got in, like I said, like at 14 cents. The end of, you know, as everything was going down, I rode it all the way down, and you know, you guys, shout out to you guys, man. You kept me in there, kept the faith. I just appreciate you guys, man. Look at you guys are on camera showing yourself. Everybody's hiding behind the shadows, rug pulling everybody. You know what I'm saying?
Well, we haven't
I
created
shall
any
remain
tokens yet.
a shadow player.
Like Jumper, yeah, you're here every week, man. Yeah, we appreciate you being here. And I remember that 14-cent number. I mean, I think a lot of people bought 14 cents, 11 cents, wrote it down. You know what I mean? But yeah, you're here every week. So let me ask you this, since you're kind of just a viewer and we don't usually get to talk to you or anything. What are your plans right now? I mean, I can't remember if you were one of the ones that was saying that you didn't have much more to DCA right now. or if you're having trouble
Oh
DCA.
no, that ain't me, dude. I'm hustling. Hey, I'm
Okay, you're at
55 years old. I was a business owner, painting and remodeling and stuff.
Oh,
I mean,
cool.
I hustle every day, dude. I'm hustling and doing
Hell
side
yeah.
jobs on the weekends and nights, and I'm DCAing. Like I said, I'll be
Good for
I'll
you.
be all right if we can DCA till winter time. That'd be excellent, dude. I
There you
swapped
go.
my whole wallet when things were going down for Hex at 14 cents, and I mean at that time I had Shiba, Doge, and they were going down. I missed it.
Right.
I watched my son-in-law, my stepson, turn $7,000 into over $100,000 in Shiba.
Yeah,
I'm like,
Right.
what the hell? I gotta learn this crypto stuff, and I started getting into it. I started buying the doggy coins, meme coins, and then I heard about the PulseChain sacrifice, and I started like doing research and digging into Richard Hart. Then I found the Hexicans in the communities and these certain streamers, and I was like, these are like-minded people here. And they're
Right.
not hiding. Look, everybody's on camera. Chris, I seen you in a lot of the rooms I'm in, man. I appreciate you, man. You've been through it already.
Thank you.
You're helping guide and safe passage into good crypto, man. Appreciate you guys.
It was shows like this that always got me through the long winters of crypto. So I almost feel like I'm giving back a little bit.
That's awesome, man. I appreciate it, dude.
Yeah, I think everybody like commiserating whenever things are down is a really helpful thing. And people can call it cope and hopium and stuff like that. But I mean, I think it really is something that helps people. And I wanted to mention this too, because checks my pulse, you said this. There's a lot of people, and I'll get anybody's opinion that has one on this, but there's a lot of like blue collar work, I think, in the Hex community. I'm not sure if that is true like of other communities or not, but like you were talking about doing remodeling, painting, all that kind of stuff. I don't know if that again is in other communities, but I think the ethos of like what we have here with Hex and freedom and liberty and all these things, and kind of the ethos that Richard Hart espouses, really does lead people that are of that kind of blue collar small business owner mindset.
I was a tradesman. I was a machinist.
I remember when Hex launched, there were so many military dudes at one point too. So they were very, obviously like-minded military, red or blue collar guys, and just very similar backgrounds. It was pretty interesting.
Hey, I mean, everybody in my circles, my age, don't know anything about crypto like I didn't know. I had to learn. And thank God, I had a good community, a crypto coffee, a bunch of people giving like tutorial videos on how to set up a MetaMask and do this and do that. And I was even thinking, maybe I should start a channel like Blue Collar Crypto and teach. I mean, the younger guys, they kind of know a little bit about it, but they're not even in it. They haven't touched it. I'm like, wow, I'm so ahead of you guys.
Right. And that's awesome too. Like that's a great feeling. Like you're talking about with your age. Like, I mean, even not. I'm younger, not way younger, but I mean, like people my own age, people younger than me. I appreciate that. I've gotten criticized in the chat before. People lump me in with the shade of Ewok's beard for some reason. I don't know why, but
he's rocking that beard.
He is rocking that beard. But people younger than me, I mean, like young people don't know anything about any of this stuff.
And
so,
they're not even in. They're not touching nothing. I mean, they're waiting for big green candles to buy. That's everybody I talk to.
Right. Yeah.
They're missing the opportunity, but hey, what are you going to do? Can't save everybody.
No, you definitely can't. So let me ask you this. We were talking about like the presidential stuff. What do you kind of seeing? I don't need your debate analysis necessarily if you don't want to, but what do you think we got on the horizon with this election? With what's going on with Biden and Trump right now, it certainly looks like a complete shit show from the Democrat side.
I mean, they have to say they love crypto or they getting votes, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
but I think personally, just in my opinion, I don't know if Trump's leading, he's pushing the crypto thing hard. He's, going to bring in a lot of people. Grandma's gonna be buying you crypto for Christmas.
Get those Trump NFTs, hopefully on PulseChain.
Hey,
Yeah.
which on another note, how can we simplify the process for non-coiners to just click one button and you're on PulseChain and you're buying stuff? I mean, hopefully through the Richard Hart wallet or something. I mean, just click one button. You don't have to bridge nothing. You're in from your bank or something.
Bridge doesn't want an exchange listing. Bridge doesn't want an exchange listing, so I don't know if that's the way to get it done. But I mean, Ewok, what do you think? I mean, we got Coast out there. Coast is a good way to do it right now. But you got to keep in mind, like a lot of these
but it
people,
doesn't work. That's the problem. Coast is down right now. I mean,
to just get something straight from your bank to your wallet on his wallet. It's trustworthy. And you're on PulseChain. No bridge, no nothing, right?
What we need is an app, an easy app, onboarding app, kind of like a what is it?
Grandma can download an app and click one button.
Like Cash App. If Cash App, you can get Bitcoin with pretty much one click. We need something very similar like that for PulseChain. But you need a banking license to do that, and they're not cheap, and you have to get one pretty much for every state you want to participate in. I think you have to,
as prices go up, can we all come together and sack and form a credit union?
Well,
PulseChain credit union.
That'd be nice. That'd be nice. Eventually it'll happen, but don't forget, guys, a lot of this is opportunity.
Right? I mean, there's a lot of opportunity.
Well, there is opportunity when it's not easy to get into. People forget that it's hard. It's not easy. It takes time to learn how to do it. It takes time to learn how to bridge and set up your wallet and do those type of things. And we're already that far ahead. So just remember that now is the time. It used to be that way probably for Ethereum, until they got onboarded into Coinbase. ERC20s were different. So it wasn't like, it was a different chain completely than Bitcoin. It's just, again, it's opportunity, I think.
I need a way to be able to mail in a check and then have PLS show up in my MetaMask account. That's all I want.
That'd be nice.
I just want to be able to mail out my checks.
Now, what about in the marketing and advertising aspect? I mean, what is legally acceptable to advertise online or whatever about PulseChain and Hex and PulseX? And I mean, is that legal? Can you market crypto like that?
I mean, certainly. I mean, we're all marketing online and things like that all the time. I mean, you guys would be able to speak to this more than I would. But I mean, like we had the Hex mailers out a couple of years ago, and Richard Hart has always talked about his affinity for, basically person to person, like right to person. Yeah, mailers like that you receive right in the mail and the effectiveness of that. So yeah, talk about those as a way of marketing, because I know Richard's always been a huge fan of that.
So you can get these printed up over at Staples for you can get business cards made for $20 to $25, and you can get hundreds of them. And I think get 200 for $25. It's a pretty good deal, and I still have a ton of. I haven't been able to pass all mine out. And then these flyers, I forget how much I paid to have these made, but I just put up a logo, and I put on some text, and you can make these on the staples.com website. And if you go pick it up from your local store, it's free shipping or no shipping because you're picking it up. And then what I was doing was I was going on long walks for like exercise, and I was just like, all right, I'm going to put these on cards as I go along when I walk.
Yeah.
And so that's what I was doing.
Yeah.
Well, what about just like online advertising? You see ads popping up everywhere where you're streaming or YouTube or all these ads pop up. Can you advertise things like that? PulseChain, Hex, PulseChain, or cryptos?
Well, a lot of places don't allow you to advertise crypto. It's funny, the ones that they do advertise are usually like YouTube. When you see those stupid ads that are AI generated saying, "Send me one, I'll send you two back."
Yeah, exactly. You
Uh,
see those things
but-
everywhere.
but it's hard to actually get an ad out there. I know Richard said he tried at one point to even advertise
That's
himself, and he had trouble. In the, I think it was the Economist magazine originally, there were some ads in that one, but yeah, then he tried again later, and they denied it, so they were stopping advertising of crypto.
That's crazy. But those
Yep.
scam ones make it right through.
I know, it's crazy.
Yeah, that is.
Hey,
Yeah.
our
my battery's
FUD
gonna
buddy,
die.
FUD buddy, wall to wall TV's here.
Wall to walls here. I actually think Super Merc's a little bit worse, actually.
Yeah, maybe it's the same person.
I don't know.
My battery's gonna die on my phone, guys. Hey, I just wanted to just jump on and say, hey, I appreciate you guys, man.
Yeah.
Streaming all the
Well,
time, and
Thanks for stopping in, man. We appreciate it.
I'm so glad I
as
found
well.
it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I see
appreciate
your
you, man.
comments around, so thank you for just posting and staying positive.
Yep.
Oh
Thanks for
yeah,
being
I
in the
can do
chat.
what I can do. I mean, I'm busy. I'm hustling. Hustle, DCA, hodl,
Yeah.
repeat.
There you go, buddy.
Maybe you could teach that to Wall and Super Merc here in the chat. They don't know what hustling's all about. So,
Well,
yeah, we
the younger
appreciate you.
generation feels entitled sometimes. I don't know what to tell them.
Yeah. Yep.
All right, guys.
All right, pal. We'll let you go.
Thanks, man.
Take it easy, man.
All right. I want to look at this comment from Luke. We were just talking about like how hard it is to get into PulseChain or how hard it is to get into crypto. He says it's no harder than to set up an IG account for traditional trading. MetaMask is so straightforward nowadays with its step-by-step setup guide. CoinJar and CoinSpot also simple too. So, he makes a good point there. I mean, like some of these social media apps and stuff that people are getting into and everything, it goes back to that thing. And I hate to keep, I don't want to say relying on this, but like making this point, but like when the green candles come, people will figure out how to use stuff. And that's kind of just it. I mean, like, with some of these apps, like I don't have a TikTok. I've never had TikTok. I've never been on there, but like once people start hearing about it and there's all this stuff and it's a place to be and everything, people will figure out how to do it and they'll go log on and make an account and all these different things. Maybe they'll even start making their own videos or whatever else. The best marketing is just the product doing well. And, we have the ingredients for that. You've talked already on this stream, Briz, about like, we have interested parties with seemingly copious amounts of money that enjoy this ecosystem and like to buy it a lot. We also have the most feverish community in crypto that, sits here and does these streams on holidays and stuff like that. Like Chex just said to us. So I don't know. Could it just be that? Is it a matter of just like, hey, whenever the price starts going up, people are going to find their way in? Because I'm kind of with Luke here. I mean, like we're getting to a point where like this stuff is getting easier to do, and you're gonna have to just do it or be left behind holding dollars. So
the one thing I have noticed is it's all of this is not hard. I said this last night. All of this isn't hard. Where all you're doing is literally typing. You're doing this with your fingers. That's really the most work that you're doing. The hardest part is knowing where to go and in what step to do it, because like I help onboard a lot of people, and once I'm like halfway through the steps, I'm just like I think to myself, I'm like, man, this is like a lot of like little baby steps, go from here to there to there. And it's just like, if you don't know what a MetaMask app even is, you don't know to go there and do it. You don't know to go to the pulseramp.com if you don't even know that pulseramp.com even exists.
Right.
mhm.
So that's probably the biggest, I think, hurdle is just getting all the information and all the steps that everyone needs to take, from the point going, all right, you need to set up a Coinbase account, you need to set up a MetaMask account, you need to transfer, go through the bridge, and you need to know how to add a network to MetaMask.
Mhm.
Right.
Just little things like that. But once you kind of get all that stuff done, it's really not too bad.
Yeah, I think so too. And you just have to want it. Like, I mean, I already touched on this, but when Ewok was first telling me about Hex back in the day and stuff like that, and the different steps to get into it and everything, like it seemed overwhelming to me and I didn't understand it. But something has to click for you to want to get in it enough, and you will learn it. I mean, plain and simple, you know. And
Yeah,
it
if you
is
want it
getting
bad
easier.
enough, if you want it bad enough, you'll figure it out. You know, there is a one-step solution pretty much, and that's the credit card, right? I can't even remember the link right now. I mean, you can't do big. No,
Oh, you know something else?
I can't even remember. It's to buy Pulse. You can buy with cash change
now or whatever. Change now.
Now.io. I mean, so you can buy, you know, 100, 200 bucks worth probably. You can't get big amounts. And the fees are a little high, but you're paying for that convenience, right? It's like 4%. But yeah, I mean, you can pay with credit card or debit card, whatever it is, and go right into Pulse and just put your MetaMask wallet or your whatever, your PRC20 address or ERC20, same thing, and it'll be there for you. So you know it's nice, but it's better to learn the right ways, right? I mean, there's other ways, and there's better ways that are out there that aren't quite as expensive. They just take a little bit more time. So you know, it goes back to the thing where if people really want it bad enough, they'll learn it. They'll take the time, and really care about it. I saw RH Max was in here, Crispy was in here. You guys want to show up? The link's in the chat. So
Yeah, you're welcome.
Anybody,
I didn't notice
anybody for that matter.
I didn't realize Crispy was here. So yeah, whoever wants to stop in. We got a super chat here from Spicy Loops. Interesting question. Where does the fiat go when you buy on an exchange? What happens when fiat touches crypto? Does the fiat get burned out of existence? I'm trying to learn. Anybody
Before you answer that, Spicy Loops, I've seen you ask the same exact question in 3 or 4 other chats.
Really?
It's interesting that he's, you know, but hey, no, it's all good. I don't mind. I've seen the same question.
I think he asked last night on
He
Maddie's
did ask
stream.
it last night in Maddie's, and I was
Interesting.
watching somebody else's stream, and he asked the same question. But
Spicy Loops, you can just think of the exchange as they have 2 cups. One is full of crypto, and the other one is for dollar bills. And when you send the dollar bills in, you start filling up that dollar bill cup, but it starts taking out the out of the crypto cup. And so the more dollar bills that go in, the fewer crypto. And now you got all these cryptos are worth all of these dollars. And then when people start selling their cryptos, they start pulling the cash out and bringing in the cryptos, and now all these cryptos are only worth a couple of these dollars, so they're worth a lot less. And I think that's kind of like the easiest way that I like to think of it.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty good. A lot of places will also hold. So it depends. If you're on a centralized exchange, and you're buying the crypto, a lot of times what they're doing is not necessarily, while they have their reserves, they will also buy the crypto as well, but they have a spread, right? So you're paying a little bit over. It's like buying spot price on gold. A lot of these places have markup. So when you buy it, you're paying a little bit higher of a price. They're purchasing it off the free market and putting it into your account. Now, they do have cash reserves as well. So kind of what Briz said is right too. They have to have so much cash value on hand so that when people sell, they have that money to give you to get out. So it's got to be a little bit of both. You know, and that's why starting exchanges is very difficult, because if you get a bank run and you can't settle everybody's cash, it becomes very difficult. That's why a lot of these places will do spot markets where they'll buy and sell right with the purchase alone, and then just make the difference on the you know, on the spread.
Or if you're Coinbase, you just shut down completely for about a day.
Right. Yeah. So that people
until people stop buying.
Well, the problem is the computers can't keep up enough to keep that spread in check to where they're still making money. Sometimes the price runs so fast that the computers and the algorithms don't keep up with it. And it creates a big arbitrage opportunity that they don't want to get caught in the middle of, essentially. So that's why they shut the shut the switch off and just don't allow you to sell?
It's a really good question. I mean, it's a good question. And, when we have Frank Molina on here, it's always a good discussion about just how, USD in this country is being printed always. I mean, one thing you can count on is they're going to continue to debase the currency. And I forget what it was, but Richard Hart actually had a tweet, I think, within the last week about like the time frames in which maybe you guys will remember this, but the time frame in which a country's currency starts to be exponentially devalue, basically, and he gave a number of years.
It was 50 years for it's an unbacked currency. So that unbacked is a key word, because obviously if you're backed by gold or backed by silver, it could go on a long time because it has something actually physically backing it. But yes, an unbacked currency has an average shelf life of about 50 years.
Yeah, to say the longest running currencies right now is the US dollar and the Great British Sterling Pound. And just FYI, the sterling pound, the GBP, it used to be worth 1 pound of sterling silver. Hence why it's called the Great British Pound. Now it's worth $1. So I'm not sure how much a pound of silver is. I think it's like $200 maybe. I forget, but
it's like $15 an ounce or something. I mean, isn't it? I don't even know the price of silver.
It's probably close to 20.
30. $30.52.
Really?
That's what it looks like.
Yeah, wow. I'm seeing 30.70.
Yep.
Nice. Dude, that's pretty awesome. Last time I saw it was at like $20.
Yeah, there you go. Nice little markup.
But yeah, thanks for the question, Spicy Loops, and thanks for the super chat. We appreciate it.
Yeah, and just the fact that when you are getting rid of your fiat and putting it into crypto, I mean, like even though the prices can be down and you're like, look at the USD value of my portfolio, you have to look at it on a longer time horizon. That's the thing that Frank Molina always talks about when he's on here. And the reason that we're all in this is because you are hedged against what is a down only token, which is the US dollar. You know what I mean? And we're in a space where it's going to exponentially go up against that. And that could be, I think kind of a way to calm yourself in times of worry whenever prices are down, is to just remember that. RH Max shouting out, Briz is definitely a fan of Ink Coin. I've heard, shout out Corey, Geary, and Dane. Their stream is awesome. I know you've gone on there a few times, Briz, and I love listening to those guys. They're awesome. But I know Corey always is talking about you being a fan of the Ink token. What exactly is behind this relationship you have with the Ink token? Are you somebody who just kind of, like Ewok and I are proponents of like just LPing, obviously Pulse and Pulse Action, earning the yield on the side. Have you DCA'd into Ink? Like, why do you have this affinity for? Why are you such an Ink lover, as you put it?
I'm actually a Pulse Latina farmer.
Okay.
That's my preferred farm.
Okay, all right.
No, I've been farming Ink for the entire year, and I've done really well with it. I keep seeing the Ink per day, like it keeps going down and down and down because more people are jumping on. But I made a famous post on Twitter where I said I feel like aping in hardcore at sub $1 Ink, and I tweeted it out, and I actually converted one of my Bitcoin, the whole Bitcoin, into Ink at an average of like 90 cents. And then it kept going down to 40 cents. I was like, fuck me, man. Really? I'm all, it's over. It's over. And then it shot up to like $8.
Yep.
So, I turned that, I basically 8x that Bitcoin value. And so, I've been I've been happy with Ink. You know, it's been a good play for me.
It's definitely no wonder you love it so much. What do you think? I want to ask this because I do think there is something up RH's sleeve when it comes to the incentive token. Like, I mean, a lot of people, like we talked about it being like the cake token and stuff like that. Is it just the dump only forever token? The chart is certainly weird. I mean, it is pretty much down only, and then it shoots up, and it has been holding up really, really well against Pulse and looking great. Even in this like little mini downturn today, I mean, we're still at like $2.50, $2.30, whatever it is, and it's really been hanging out there. But do you think RH could have some kind of secret idea, or maybe just the team eventually are going to release more around the incentive token? Because it seems to me that I just feel like there's something else there. I think we're going to get a surprise as this bull market kind of moves on with the Ink token. I don't know what it'll be, but what do you guys think about that?
I know inside the was it the sushi swap contract or was it Pancake? It said that once the community is matured enough that it could be used as a governance token to maybe choose which farms get the APRs, whatever. And so that's a possibility. I also think it's possible for Richard to create a single-sided staking pool with Ink, where maybe you put in PulseX and it spits out Ink as a single-sided reward. But other than that, it's just kind of I don't know. As long as the money keeps flowing into Ink, you gotta keep. It's kind of like the key to the whole PulseX, I believe, because without Ink, you're not gonna get people that are gonna really want to provide that much liquidity.
Right.
I wouldn't be providing as much liquidity as I'm providing if it wasn't for the Ink token reward.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I like it, and I hope it gets more usage. In my opinion, this is here's my spicy take. Here's my spicy opinion.
Your Pulse Latina take.
Yeah, I think PulseX should have never been created, and I think the Ink coin should have been named PulseX. I think that would have been better.
So instead of obviously you mean that there should be a DEX, but the Pulse X token itself shouldn't exist, and the Ink token should be Pulse X.
Exactly. Because
how would you burn?
That way you could it comes into creation. It's been a while since I thought about this, but it works out because like right now it's like there's no real incentive to hold on to PulseX. But if you could use PulseX to farm, I don't know. It's been a while since I thought.
You're the star of the show. You got to work this out live on the
air. I know. I was like, I know. I'll give my spicy opinion. I haven't thought about it in a long time.
you got it somewhere in there. Well, I mean, obviously, PulseX has the buy and burn built in, but I'm sure if you dig deep into the Brizology notes somewhere, you will find that, and we'll look forward to hearing about it.
That's right. That was the whole thing about it. It was that the exchange would buy and burn Ink, but it would also come out as people farmed it. So the thing is that Ink has the inflation, but the PulseX buy and burn would eat down that inflation. But instead of eating down the Ink inflation, it's just burning down PLSX. And so I think it would be better if the PulseX bought and burned Ink instead of PulseX.
Interesting.
Yeah,
it'd be neat if there was a switch to change up what it was buying and burning depending on different scenarios. I think that would be pretty cool. Like sometime it's buy and burning PulseX, sometimes it's would buy and burn Hex, sometimes it would buy and burn Pulse, depending on what type of market it was. Maybe if it's a bull
I
run,
think it'd be. Sorry, I
interesting.
was just gonna say I think it'd be cool if it did like a 50-50 on PulseX and Ink. If it bottom burned both of them equally,
Yeah,
I think that would be pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah, just because it's Ink has the like permanent inflation on it. Yeah. I get where you're coming from.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
I
It's like
see.
even like I used to worry about runaway inflation with Hex. So I was like, I was like, oh my god, it's inflating 3.69% like every year. That's just there's a lot of ink coming out, or I'm sorry, Hex coming out. But then when you find out that half of the penalties go to the OA, and that acts as I believe, a strong anti-inflationary mechanism, it helps actually take down a lot of the hex inflation. What up, Christian man?
What's up,
Crispy man.
Chris?
What's up?
Hey, boys, how are you?
Welcome. Good to see you.
How you doing?
Christian
Good.
man, we need you to take one more buttons down, all right?
All
Yeah,
right,
get
baby.
that.
I can do
Matter
that
of
for
fact,
you. I
just
give
pop
you.
that shirt off. Just
I
pop it
give
off.
you.
Speaking of spicy,
Yeah.
Crispy man, give us some hex stats here. I was gonna say, and I would feel impolite to drop off now. I got a 5-year-old that's calling my name upstairs. I got to drop off in a minute, but obviously you guys continue. Crispy man, give us the good news on hex. What are like some metrics that are catching your eye recently? What are some things that you're kind of noticing in the analysis you do? Because I mean, the stuff that you do on your site is incredible. And I think you add tons of value to this community and particular hex. So give us some good stuff. What do we got here as far as staking hex goes?
Well, see what you did. Now he's buttoning up like he's got a tie on.
Now I'm a prude. I gotta put my jacket on. How's that look? That looks so
Freaking nerd.
I know, man.
I liked it down. I was a fan.
Yeah, baby. Hey, yeah, man. I'm pretty enthusiastic about hex. Obviously, price is down, right? Reminded of that about 300 times a day, right? So, people say that, but the mechanism works, right? And so it does work. And, assuming, and of course, is the big assumption, right? Assuming that price stays flat going into the future and is always at a higher price, you're in pretty good shape. I mean, it beats, TradFi hands down that way. But this is crypto. And so nobody knows, right? And we would have said this would have been the situation, but we are lower than possibly we were, lower than people want it to be, right? Obviously not the bottom of hex. So there are people still in profit. There's still people who DCA'd and did their ladders, and their ladders are still in profit on EHEX, never mind PX, which was free for them. So I think a lot of the negativity, right, is really coming from people who were trying to speculate on overnight riches, wanted to stay liquid, a little bit of regret, and not selling the top. I mean, who didn't feel a little bit about that? Because, but I think it's because their strategies need to be different for the time frames, and people kind of mash it all together. I mean, if you were staking Quattro Cinco, like you'll hear people complain about that. Oh, everybody told you to stake Quattro Cinco only. Well, yeah, that's in 15 years, man. You've still got another long time. You got many years to play out before you get there. All right. So what's really super positive? Contract does what it's supposed to do. It does it every day. You can verify it yourself on chain. You can look at the information we have. Payouts are going up at a much higher rate right now. Both the the daily payouts per T-share and the T-shares themselves are coming down because of all the stupid FUD, right? And they're coming down faster. And so what's happening is the APY is going up. And so you want to be really, I don't think it's like, 1-0 on off situation. But if you wanted to take the FUD and go to the max, that's it, it's done forever. Well, that means that the people who do stake, the ones who don't believe that, they're going to see their APYs go up. And just like back of the envelope math, it's like your APY can go up 600x. Over the next 10 to 15 years. What's 600 times 40% for an average? I mean, you're about a couple 1,000% APY. So that's unrealistic because you know, stakes start paying that kind of APY, people are going to stake. So we have this opportunity right now for those who are listening and kind of believe in it to build their ladders out, and they're going to get they'll get some pretty good returns in terms of hex, you know, in the game of hex and collecting hex. So that's the super popular thing. I mean, or a super exciting thing that I like. The other couple of things I'd mention is hex is a monster on PulseChain, but look at the volume. You know, however it's being produced, you know, high liquidity, you know, in comparison to most other tokens, maybe not other RH tokens, but other tokens. The throughput heavy. People know its name, and people are speculating. Right? Remember, I mean, you guys know this, right? That you know, the wash, rinse, repeat cycles, how value gets transferred, right? And people forget about that. They don't want to talk about it. They pretend it's some other type of game, but that's really what it is, right? And so we need people to come in and buy tops and sell bottoms. I mean, that's how, right now, that's how most of crypto earns, right? I mean, whether we want to pretend that's not the way it works or not. It's a game of chicken. And then, so anyways, so what we're seeing right now is like the holders of hex, at least the wallets are holding, going up, man. You know, even as the staking is going down, now that's super. You say, well, how could that be good for miners and hex? Well, it's pretty good for me as a miner. You know, for you guys if you're mining, because what that means is people aren't getting the rewards, not getting the yield, and they're holding liquid, and so they're speculating on the price. Now, yeah, of course, when they sell, price will go down. If and when they sell, it'll go down.
Right.
But what's happening in the meantime in the background, because I'm playing multi-cycle, I'm not playing one cycle. You know, my bags are just getting bigger and bigger. So it's just kind of crazy. You know, I mean, it works just like we always said it worked. Nothing's changed in that way.
Yep. Contract still works. Hey, not to, and I'm not changing the subject, but have any of you, Briz or Crispy, have you looked into the Hex Rewards token by any chance?
You know, I think it's Coast Guard vet, right?
Yeah, USCG vet.
USG,
Yep.
Yeah, he just mentioned to me the other day. I haven't even gotten a chance to take a look at it, so I'd be happy to hear some more info about it. But it was supposed to be rewarding Quattro Cincos, right? I think.
Well, it rewards staking in general, pretty much. But so the interesting thing is there are tiers that are set up. After a certain point and after a certain day, you have to claim one of those spots in the tiers. Let me see if I can pull this up.
Yeah, I probably need to go do some research on this.
I don't have it connected to a wallet right now, but I have this where I can share it at least, and you can see. So tier 0 is a hex stake between 1,000 and 9,999 hex. There's no seats left, but if you create a stake, you would claim one of these seats, basically, in these different tiers, and the way they earn is different. So for tier 1, which is 10,000 to 99,999, there's 332 seats or stakes left. So these are going to run out pretty quickly. I looked at the price of this earlier, and it's kind of interesting that it's over $100 a token.
Oh, wow.
There isn't much supply, though. That's the interesting part of it, is there's not going to be a very large supply, because you're only getting like 0.000001 of these per day that you have your stake, and then whenever it ends, it's going to be another of those situations where you have to claim it before you end your stake, or it disappears, kind of thing. So here's I mean, there isn't a whole lot of liquidity either. So
is this just simply a claim type of a function, or do you have to stake through the protocol?
You don't have to stake through it. No, you just claim it on the dashboard type thing.
All right, cool.
And there's you get an extra reward if you do the good accounting. So basically, you're ending your stake, you're putting those T-shares back into the system, but you're not minting the tokens. which keeps the supply of it down. So there's a couple different interesting game theory type things in there. But yeah, I mean, so it's again, it was at one point $561. It's still sitting at $102 here. I just thought it was
Got a big old
interesting.
bump in July, huh? Last couple days or what?
Yeah, yeah.
That big green.
Yeah, pretty cool.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I like anything that gives out free rewards, you know.
Well, that's
for-
what I said. Yep, it's another
for apps.
reward token that we can kind of. It's now you've got to claim your hex reward. You got to claim your com. You got to claim your hedron. Can't wait till what's that? What's the protocol that's going to do it all for you? I forget what the name of that
Tetra.
is. Tetra. That's right.
We had Tetra's one of the, I think Ben Sierra from L Hex Liquid Hex has something coming out too. Like
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's a couple different products I've heard people talking about that are coming out. I'm not part of the project, so I don't know all the details, but I'm excited about this stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, I just wanted to. I didn't know anybody looked at it or studied the contract or anything like that. I know
I haven't heard about it till just now.
Okay.
Yeah. I had heard
Well,
about it a couple times. That's the thing, right? There's a lot of stuff going on, right? There's like too much to follow. And I had
Right.
heard about it a couple times, saw it a couple times, but I never, it's just another token. And no offense to anybody, or I don't know what that is. It's just something new that has something
Right.
on it, right? And
Right.
I just hadn't looked at it. But then Coast Guard mentioned it to me the other day, and I didn't get a chance to look yet.
Yep.
So I should go dig into it, see if
Cool.
I can claim something.
Yeah. And what's the story with someone said that the ETH hex aren't loading on the go.hex?
Yeah, we have so there's a technical issue that some of the front ends, not all the front ends, were using something called subgraph.
Okay.
Which is from
Where
the
now
graph,
it's
from
pay to
the
play?
graph. Yeah, now they changed it to play to pay. So what they did is they actually had started the movement towards like, well, I think people understand this, right? The more traffic, the more cost there is.
Right.
And so originally they let you set up like a hosted domain. And as a sake of argument, just a hosted address, right? And so
Sure.
you could just send people there, or go get data from them. And there was not per transaction. But then they were moving and migrating in 22 over to transaction-based fees. And then it kind of got like everything else, right? Slowed down. They didn't do anything with it. They didn't force it. And then all of a sudden the other day turned it off. Boom.
Right.
It was done. And so anybody who's pointing to that, like Hex Daily Stats, apparently Hex.com was using it a little bit. A couple other things were using it.
Go
So now-
Pulse.
yeah, Go Pulse. So people are now kind of like moving quick to try to get that corrected.
Right. Well,
Yeah, I like
just so
to
that
use-
everyone.
I was gonna say I like to use Go Pulse to track my portfolio.
Right.
And I logged in the other day and just like all my hex stakes are gone.
Yeah, you
But
were
But the
saying
rest
that
of the
yesterday.
coins are in there. I was like,
Yeah.
all right, my hex stakes, they're fine. Your wallet isn't compromised.
Right.
Let's go check the hex.com. Okay, there they are. You're fine.
So the cool thing is one of our faithful, loyal guys that are, one of these creators in our community, Alex from Hedron. Apparently he's setting up his own service, and
Yeah,
it
correct.
just
Yeah.
seems to take forever. I asked him, I'm like, can you define forever? How long does it take to really sync? And I didn't get an answer,
Months.
but is it
No,
that
it
long?
takes it can take a couple weeks.
A couple weeks. Okay.
Yeah, because what's happening with this one, this is a pre-staging. So Alex, maybe he doesn't know, people don't know. Alex had provided the same free service. We had like two services up and running. The community did. One was produced by Kodiak. The other was from Alex from Hedron, and they were these subgraphs, right? Both running the same way. So that one went down at the same time. So he also lost his EX one at the same time. So it needs to be replaced. And so he's
Gotcha.
been working on that. But yeah, what it is think of it this way: is it's a contract that lives on. It's a definition in a contract that lives on ETH. And what it does is it looks at what you tell it to look at, and goes and correlates the data into a easier format to pull the data out. So it pre-stages the data. So rather than, it's kind of like, rather than going and saying, get me the first stake, get me the second stake, get me the third stake, it's smart enough to go get that data and load it into the contract and make it in a way that you can retrieve it pretty quickly.
Gotcha.
So it speeds everything up, and it doesn't have to make a call every time to the actual blockchain. How the data is stored, I couldn't tell you. I mean, I kind of like have an idea. I just know it's faster. It's faster for me.
And they obviously they have to sync the whole chain from the beginning in order to be right,
which is where the 2-3 weeks might come in.
Right. Gotcha. Cool. Good stuff.
Yeah, I'm waiting for that. That'd be good to see that back up and running. There's a lot of stuff going on in PulseChain. The geeky stuff, like this geek tech stuff. I mean, maybe people know, but outside of PulseChain, if I want to go to any of these providers, that we're using, they want you to pay. I mean, for that access, they're not doing it for free per se, right? So, I mean, and then there's like 4 or 5 different ones, and the ones that are free or have free clauses, they have rate limits and whatnot, and so you can be looking pretty easily at tens of thousands of dollars worth of cost per year, depending on what you're trying to do, and how you're going to get that data. So like those subgraphs and stuff, like now, it's going to be charged for on the Ethereum side. Well, on PulseChain, hey guys, that's free to you, right? If you're a developer over there, you don't have to pay. Right now, anyways, maybe it'll change. I don't know. But the subgraphs we have up for like PulseX and stuff, it's all free. I mean, so it's another really cool thing about PulseChain.
Nice.
I think I heard the graph over on Ethereum. I heard they're sunsetting their service.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Maybe.
I don't know if it has something to do with cost or whatever, but
well, you know what it is for somebody like me, so I do these reports and stuff, right?
Right.
So it's a little bit glorified in what I'm doing. And so while I can go get data and be more like a dev, for something like when you just want to consume data, I just want the list of prices by date,
right?
Or I want to go see the data by date. I don't want to have to write 10,000 lines of code to go figure it all out. I just want to go look at. I want to look at the end product because I'm not doing dev work and I'm not building an app that people are going to use financially, right? And so unfortunately, the answer is if you don't have something like Subgraph, then you got to run some sort of a node. And why do you have to run a node? You got to run a node, which now you're talking about not 2 weeks, right? Now you got to be in sync. You got to run some sort of a node. Whether I'm not a dev in this area, so whether you're talking about an archive node or some other type of node, I don't know. But you've got to run an Ethereum node, and then you got to pay for a database service to store all the data. Right. Unless you're just using it yourself. Using it yourself, maybe use your home computer or something. But so pretty rapidly. You go from, hey, here's this low tech, low cost way to get data, and then all of a sudden you're like, now it's gonna be $1,000 a month, to be able to get the data and store the data. Plus you got to do the work, and then so this is why you don't see a lot of people doing this stuff, right? Because it just becomes more and more cumbersome, and then you got to be able to carry the 2 terabytes, right, or whatever, how much data is out there.
Sure.
And now you're paying for storage costs from AWS or one of these other providers. So it's just kind of funny, how it goes. But it also is a barrier to entry because, and this is one of the reasons I got into looking at data and stuff, is I wanted to know, right? And like, all right, maybe a lot of the stuff isn't actionable. Maybe it's just because I like weird numbers and stuff, but sometimes there's actionable data that you can look at and be like, oh man, right now is a really great time to do X, Y, and Z. Well, you guys don't have access to it, but I do.
Yeah. Right.
And so I'm telling you, there's people out there that know a hell of a lot more about what's going on with the database and the data on PulseChain than I do, and on Ethereum. They're just not talking about it, right? Because they're providing services and they're making money.
Yeah. Yeah, and they're not going to give that up, right? Are you using You're using Power BI for your stuff?
Yeah, I'm using Power BI for that
Mostly?
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I joke around. Well, I use Excel, of course, and I use Power BI, some JavaScript. I joke
Yeah.
around. I'm probably the leading expert in the world on getting blockchain data into Power BI, because it's not really like a thing, you know. I mean, it's just not a thing. I mean, who
Right.
the hell would use Power BI for that? But I have experience with that platform from the past, from my regular work, and it's super powerful. I mean, you can't get it's world class. I mean,
Yeah.
like, if you want to be able to manage billions of records, this is the kind of product that you use for that. We're not quite at that level, but the type of data that I'm working on, I keep expanding, to be able to do more. I don't know if we'll exactly get to what do they call that, carnivore program or something. I don't think we're going to get to kind of that level, but for the
Right.
stuff I surface, I like it a lot, because it provides me a path that, somebody said to me today, hey, I want to go look at X, Y, and Z, and then I can pull up the charts and get them added and start looking at indicators and things that, sure, I could do it in other places, but not the way I want to do it, or the
Right.
people want to do it.
Yeah. Very cool. What else you want to talk about, Briz?
This is the Briz is always right segment, I think.
Briz is always right.
Every segment is Briz is always right.
I don't know about that.
Broke Boy had to take off. His son was losing patience. So
yeah. When they're that age, that's what happens. Right?
Yeah,
that's a great age. Man.
Yep, very good age.
Here, let me see it. And oh, you know what? I wanted to mention this on the show last night, but I didn't really get the chance. There's this video that I saw on YouTube just the other day, and it was really compelling. It was very interesting. It was called "The Growing Hatred for Financial Influencers," and the youth. And I took that a little personal. And the YouTube channel, her name is Donna. And so it was really interesting. Mostly she's not even talking about crypto people. She's talking about people like Graham Stephan, Meet Kevin, Andre Jick, those kinds of financial influencers, and how everyone's getting like really fed up with them. And it just kind of and those guys are not crypto specific, but it almost kind of it almost feels like you could just replace the hatred coming from their audience with like the same type of hatred coming from like the crypto audience.
Yeah.
It almost just feels like we're all in this together.
Right.
Well, a lot of times I calm myself down right when we get the FUD feet, fest going on. People are people, man. People in general. Okay, yeah, there's some outliers out there. There's some crazy screwballs and whatnot. But generally, we're all kind of like in the middle, kind of the same. We just try to take care of our families, friends.
Yeah.
Take care of ourselves. And we have all the same weird emotions and that stuff. Hey, in that article, what were people fed up with? What part?
Well, it's just it was just like they're talking about the Yada Bank, where they got like Graham Stephan and other people got people into this bank, and then what happened to the bank sounds very similar to what happened with 0x Coast. So people like got their money in there, but now they weren't able to actually transfer it in or out because the provider, I guess, kind of changed. I don't know, but it sounds almost exactly like kind of what happened with 0x Coast, where they're like, look, we just need to find another provider in one way or another. But and so to me, it almost I was just kind of like, I'm like, man, why are these guys crying about the banking it's not even like they got rugged. It was just like, hey, you don't have access to your money for a little while. We're sorry,
Right.
but so I don't know. It was mostly kind of about that.
I'll be very happy to see Coast get their stuff back in line for the U.S. Markets. That'll be a really good thing, I think.
All
And
indications are they're going to get there. Yeah.
Yep.
I'm wondering if, like, when 0x Coast launched, if the amount of money outflowing was just way more than the amount of money going in. And so their providers are like, hey, what the heck is going on? Are you guys like laundering money? Like, why is all this money flowing out but no money flowing in? I don't know. It just kind of felt like maybe they got in trouble because of the actions of the users.
Well, when you
Does that
operate
make
something like
sense?
that, you almost have to expect there's going to be runs in both directions at certain times of the market. I think markets are very, very volatile, and they knew it was crypto. I'm pretty certain. So
They had to have.
yeah, like the
And I think,
disclosure would have to be there for them to even think about going into business.
yeah, and I feel like they'll probably get a lot more people buying once the bull run really starts kicking in.
Yeah.
But I'm just kind of speculating that maybe during the bear there was just a lot more people selling than buying, and so the bank was just like, I don't know, probably suspicious.
I don't know. I don't know if it was really. I don't know what the exact reasons are. I guess we'd have to ask them. I did take the trade though. When it got down to 72, 74 cents, I took the trade because
Nice.
I've used Quest before, and it was free 25%.
Yeah, for sure.
In the world of crypto, where everybody was 100 or 200,000% or whatever, it's not very much. But I did take that trade to load up because I'm doing like long-term planning.
Right.
Like how do I move value later? Because I mean, Briz, I'm no expert on it, but I talked to my bank ahead of time. It was like, hey, am I going to have a trouble? They're like, no, yeah, but I'm suspicious, right? Am I, because I have transferred large dollar amounts, but usually, like if I'm going to bought a house or something like that, everything's all seamless and kind of goes through. Kind of makes me sick to write a big check like that, but and handle it. But all seamless, and I'm like, so can I just ACH in $10,000 and now? They're like, yeah, sure, no problem, and but yeah, that's what I'm thinking about. It's almost like like some people say, have a track record of regular transactions so that as you're doing it, if you're going to move $10,000, it's not like, oh my god, this is 10,000, and all of a sudden it's 10,000 a day and you've only done 10,000 in the last 3 years,
right?
What kind of checks might that create, right?
It's like you're doing your monthly $300 amount buy-in, and then like all of a sudden you take out like $100,000, and they're like, wait a minute.
Let's hope we all have that problem, right? I mean, I want to see that problem,
right?
It'd
be nice. It'd be nice to have that problem.
$300 going in every month, and I did the bull run.
Bruce said it today, and he is always right. We're doing a 300x, guys. 400.
So did the Coast token did it repeg? Are we back at $1?
Yeah, it's repeg. Yeah, and even when it's pegged, I experienced some, because I did some testing with it at the time when it was up and running for U.S. citizens, and I'm not in New York or Texas, so it worked for me. But it stays pretty close to peg, and there's incentive to keep it pegged, because otherwise, when people come in with new dollars, they get more Coast,
right,
than dollars, right? And vice versa, depending on what's happening. So there's a little bit of ARB action on that. Plus, there's an incentivized on P-Hooks.
Mm-hmm.
There's an incentivized pool where you can get additional rewards for doing various, I think in this case, it's like EDI and Coast, and then it pays really good. It actually seems like it pays pretty well on PulseX too. Which, right, that would be like the holy grail. A lot of people talk about is being able to earn trustlessly, almost trustlessly, but
earn yield on your stable coins.
Yeah, right.
Sure.
I mean, greater than what you can get on CD. Now Hex obviously beats that, but yeah,
sure. Yeah, that's definitely something to look into that, a lot of people don't talk enough about, are the different strategies to, I don't want to say exit the market, but at the top, you are going to want to take some profits. And what do you do with that? Do you go back into dirty cash? Well, why would you want to do that when you can kind of keep it in the system and still earn even more than you can back in the traditional markets? Obviously, if you're buying a house or doing something, or a situation like that, you would want you would want it to be on the other side. But if you're not, and you want to hang on till the bottom, the next bottom, why not sit there, park it, and make some nice yield?
I think you're right. I think it's important to have a plan, right? Most people aren't going to have a plan.
Yep.
That's okay. That's what they're going to do. But most people probably also dealing with a few $100,000 or $50,000. But if you're one of these people who's come in heavy into the ecosystems, you probably should put a little more thought into that. if it's going to hurt you to not understand what's happening when it happens. And then my financial coaching, I get pretty anal, so I'm like, I'll focus on first, like, even know your numbers. Like, what does that mean? I mean, some people might not even have a budget, so it starts with budgeting and making sure you understand how much you need in real life, right? Because if you're not going to pull it out of crypto, you got to have it coming from somewhere, so you better make sure you have it. And then beyond that, when you start talking about crypto, I kind of teach this bucket and lever methodology, which is just fancy words for saying, hey, I need a bucket of money to do this, this, and this, right? Name them whatever you want. Like I call mine my debt bucket. Like how much do I need to pull out of crypto to pay off debt for what I put into crypto, maybe, right? Some people have done that. And then I have what I call a bridge bucket for bridge account. What's bridge account mean? Bridge account is, say, we're probably gonna have another bear. So maybe I don't need anything out of crypto during another bear, right? But if I do, well, I better fill my bucket, right? So if you're intending to live off of crypto during the bear, you better have 2 years worth of expenses in that bucket. So, right? And this is the bucketing, right? How much do you need for each of these? And then all of us people who talk about selling the top and buying the bottom, well, you better have a dry powder bucket. One of these ones with that's encased in glass that says "break glass, do not touch." Only break.
Or you ain't hitting the bottom, right? If you don't have that
bucket,
bucket,
you get hit the bottom because a lot of people say they're going to do stuff, but they don't do it. It's very hard to follow through. But you have those buckets, and then the levers are try to figure out how you're going to fill them, because that's another challenge, right? It's not that it's hard. I mean, anybody can market sell. Yeah. But market sell does affect price, and so do limit orders. And by the way, so does V3 liquidity. Nothing slows down a token momentum than somebody dropping, $10,000 or $20,000, $50,000 worth of sell pressure on it.
Right.
So there's all these different methodologies. Try to figure out how to do that. And hey, surprise, surprise, the longer you put those processes in place, the easier it is to get value out and have a plan to get value out, because it takes some time, for some of these things to work.
Absolutely.
Which is why you see when like somebody gets ants in their pants, they're like, I got to get out. If you have an emergency, right, and if whatever your life is and whatever you think an emergency is, you got to pull it out of crypto. Okay, respect, right? You got to do it. You got to do it. You're going to sit there and go, well, now I'm going to set up a liquidity position and I'm going to wait 3 weeks for this to fill. Right. So this is how you define emergency. No, this is why you see people turn around and go push the button, boink. Right. And then of course on the upside, when we're going up, when enough people do that, it actually turns the market.
Yeah. I just hope more people learn how to use the flex and earn, and even the liquid loans protocol.
Yep.
And they start exiting using those, because if we can all just figure that out, I think that'll be really, really beneficial.
Yeah, I've heard some people. How we've probably all three of us have heard some of this stuff about, how to do that compounding, right? without getting into the details explaining it. But I heard some pretty good reports come back from at least one group of people. They come back to me when we had this last pump up. It was a while ago now. Did very well with actually leveraging that whole, swapping into the token that goes up and then turning around and putting it in for, as collateral to mint more of the stable in order to buy more, et cetera, and kind of do that. But yeah, it takes some concentration too.
And it takes price going up because you don't want the price to go down against you, or you're really going to hurt yourself.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
because you can't over collateralize when you're doing things like that. You're playing with such a thin margin that you kind of need those tokens to buy the more, to put more in, to get more. So, yeah, a big red candle could really hurt that. So make sure people know what you're doing if you're going to attempt that. But
yeah,
all right,
everything
guys.
feels like trading.
Well, I think we're going to wrap it up. We've been here for 2 hours. Briz and Crispy, why don't you tell everyone where they can find you? At least you're not normals on this stream, but I would like to have both of you back at some point, whether it's together or separately. But
heck yeah. One last thing I just want to say is Greg A in the chat. Don't worry, man. Just hold on a little bit longer. We're almost there. If things aren't looking, really good, by Q2 of 2026, start worrying. Okay, start worrying. It's like you got 2 more years. If it's not good in 2 more years, then you can start worrying.
Yeah,
but
sure.
no, but honestly though, I believe by the end of this year, I think we're going to start seeing some really strong numbers pumping in, and then all of next year, I really believe it's gonna be strong. I think we're all gonna be pretty happy. So yeah, if you guys want to come see some cool artwork that I'm making, you can follow me on Brizology on x.com, and I do a show with Chrissy Man on Tuesdays with Maddie Allen.
Mm-hmm.
And come check it out.
Yeah. Hey, I'll just echo what you said, Bruce, for anybody listening. 4-year cycle's intact. Normal type of cycle looks like. I'm not worried at all. Been through this enough times now. I mean, maybe this time is different, but we won't know it's different until it's different. And it just looks like it looks. I mean, sideways action. This is how people get washed out. This is how that value gets changed. And I mean, hodl is the way to go. And of course, in my case, stake and just keep going. And we'll know when we know. Okay, it'll be the most fun you ever had if crypto dies in the next year. You'll be like, wow, I was there to be part of it. That ain't gonna happen. It's going the other way.
What a ride!
It's going the other way. It's going towards the trillions. So some way somehow you'll see that. So I'm super excited. Hexfire.io. That's it. You can check me out there.
Cool. Well, thanks for coming in, guys. We appreciate it. For Broke Boi Crypto and I both. We are here every Wednesday night at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we appreciate everybody in the chat. We had close to 100 in here tonight, it looked like.
Nice.
So we appreciate it. If you can all smash the like on your way out, and we'll see you next week. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for the menu. Appreciate
Absolutely.
it.